Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 5th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I'm First Selectman Colin Ball, and I call this meeting to order. Everyone would stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Begin with public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment on Zoom? Any public comment on Zoom? All right. Seeing none. Item 3 is discussion and approval of the minutes from the February 19th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen.
This is Kathy Harrington. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as drafted.
All right. The motion has been made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, item number 4 is discussion and approval to transfer $27,630 from contingency from new Munis software implementation and refer to the Board of Finance. I sent you guys a memo from Finance Director Mandy Moore, HR Director Karen Ziemba, and IT Director Becky Ossiger, requesting that we implement the Tyler Content Manager to help streamline certain processes within their departments. I have them both here tonight, so I'm not going to read the memo, but if you guys have any questions for them, they're available, and I'll open up the floor. Yeah, you guys can come up. Or
Mandy, what particular functions will it add?
So besides just warehousing all the documents so they're not stored in binders or file folders and things like that, the ability to search through them through multiple years is the biggest added function from finances standpoint.
And then from HR, for a standpoint, it'll have our onboarding process to be electronic. So currently it's manual. We have this big stack of papers that we send to the new hires, and they fill it out, and then we send it, and then we enter it into the system. So when they fill it out online, it'll also download the information that they put in the system as well, like tax information, address. So it's going to also cut some labor in the finance department for payroll as well. Electronic signatures, so it'll just really improve our efficiency and professionalism of our onboarding process for the new hires.
So then the staff wouldn't need to do the data entry. It would just come down off their forms and be input right into your system.
Mm-hmm. And we'll check everything, of course, online before it gets imported to the system.
Are there other modules that you see down the road us needing to get?
Out at this time, I think we do have some access of some other modules that we're going to start using. Employee self-service, which is an online time card. There's an onboarding piece that is part of the software as well.
So we've already had it, we're just not using it?
Correct.
So this will allow us to use more of the functions of Munis?
It will, from HR and from finance.
And so I had a question on, in the memo at the end, you talked about, kind of the conclusion was the cost implementation and the low threshold of future annual fees would make it a good investment. So the low threshold of future annual fees, is that I was looking at the contract, is that the minimum fee of $2,500, and that they kind of estimate to be roughly $4,000?
Yeah, the recurring fees in future years would be $4,000 per year.
So while we're asking for the $27,630, that would be to like get it all up and running?
Yeah.
And train staff and all of that?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I'm not sure if you can answer this or not, but did town council review the contract language, the invoice, like the contractual language that was there?
I did not ask him to review it. I can send it to him.
Because I was thinking, I did read through it, there's on page 4, the 4th paragraph talks about if the client, that would be the town, if the town cancels in less than 4 weeks in advance, it said that client would be liable to Tyler for all non-refundable expenses incurred on our behalf, which I understand. It's the second piece I just have a little question on. It's also, we would be responsible for the daily fees associated with the canceled services if Tyler is unable to reassign his personnel. I was just wondering, we might want to pass that by, like, if we send this forward, just to have Derek look at that and see if he could suggest any revision that might be amenable to Tyler. I just felt like that was like 4 weeks is enough time to maybe reassign staff to work on a different project, I would think.
You would hope.
I would hope, yeah.
So this, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, but otherwise I think it looks like a really good proposal.
Yeah, I think it's great. Do the 27,000 is just the purchase of the software, and then the fourth, it'll be approximately 4,000 a year going forward.
Yes,
This 27,000, does that include the 4,000 for the first year?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I just want to make sure, because I'm assuming it probably wasn't in your budget, so.
No, I've been asking for this for a couple of years now, so I want to thank these two for all their work and efforts on this and getting it to the point of implementation.
Well, Andy's predecessor had stacks upon stacks of papers on her desk. And I'm sure yours aren't quite as big, but I'm sure there are stacks of paper, and this will probably ease that load, and then you can, from what I gathered from you is, you type in something in the search engine and boom, there it is,
Yeah.
there's no, where's that file, it's over there, it's over there. I think it's a professional piece that you need to do your job.
How long will it take to get everything into it?
I did not ask about the timeline of beginning to end. I think it usually depends on their training staff and what time of year you implement, because.
No, I meant to take the data that you already have to now put it into the.
So it would be a moving forward basis. So we currently have some capital funds set aside for scanning old documents. So we wouldn't be uploading those into the system, but it would be on a moving forward basis.
Anyone else have any other questions for them?
I have just one quick question. The technical integration of Tyler Content Manager into the Munis software, so who's doing that from a technical perspective? Is it the town or the company?
The company would. So I spoke to Becky to ask if they would need additional server space or anything else for
Okay.
the product. It's believe it's primarily a cloud-based product, so
Oh,
it wouldn't
okay.
actually reside on our servers.
Okay, and then the company, as a part of the contract, they're doing all of that?
Yep,
work? Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the transfer of $27,630 from contingency for the new Munis software implementation. Do we need to send this to the board of finance?
Yeah, because we're requesting from contingency.
Okay, so first I'm going to withdraw that motion. I'm going to make a motion that we actually amend the agenda
Okay.
to include a number 4, discussion and approval to transfer $27,630 from contingency for a new Munis software implementation and refer to the Board of Finance. It'd be that last piece to add on and refer to the Board of Finance. I don't have that.
It's on the,
Oh, I have the old one. Well, I'm going to withdraw this second motion. And I'm going to go back to my first motion and just say that I make a motion that we approve the transfer of $27,630 from contingency for the new Munis software implementation and refer to the Board of Finance.
There you go. All right. Motion has been made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Have a
Lee.
great
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you. Have a good night.
Sorry, I don't like
I snuck that in there when I picked the
You
changes.
did.
Yeah.
I printed the first version. My bad.
All right, so item 5, I'm still waiting for our social services chair. Does anyone
Okay.
have any problem with moving that after item 6, maybe like 6A now?
So I make a motion that we, let's see, amend the agenda to make item number 5, number 6A.
Yeah. Motion has been made. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. So item number 6 is discussion of landfill policy and fee schedule changes and call public hearing. I have DPW Director Lee Corbett here. If you guys recall, last year we had many meetings discussing policy changes, pricing changes at the landfill. At that point, we just chose to move forward with the permit fee, and we gave Lee the ability to make changes as necessary. proposing pricing changes that we would have to publish and then call a public hearing for. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Before we make those changes, so you guys received that document, and please here for any questions that we may have.
Would you like me to go over why?
Yeah, you can say, you can do it.
So I'm just gonna read the summary that I sent out to Colin, which I believe he sent to everybody on the board. There's a need to update the transfer station policy and fee schedule. There have been incidents of contention with the new permit requirement and landfill policy. This has caused some issues to arise. There have been unposted regulations dating back years that have come into question since the landfill policy and permitting have been put into place. Some of these have been the use of dual axle trailers, which have historically been made to go over the scale. This was not included with the past landfill policy. There have also been questions when family from out of town come to clean out a loved one's home who has passed over the use of the landfill. Another point of contention has been for residents do not have a vehicle of their own or a vehicle that they can carry what needs to be disposed of. These residents also need to access the landfill. The final issue has been the use of rented vehicles or one-ton and larger vehicles. These issues were not covered in the initially passed landfill policy. The updates to the policy stand to clarify these points and make for a better landfill experience for the residents and employees. The cost to the town has risen to dispose of all items of all types. In the case of box springs, the town was not previously charged. We are now being charged to dispose of these pieces. In order for the town to not lose money, which unfairly costs all taxpayers in the end, I've updated the fee schedule to cover the added cost to the town. This includes all previously charged for items as well as the scale fee. The fees will need to be adjusted as future disposal costs continue to rise. I just really want to make a point on that. Disposal costs are going to keep continually rising at a pretty significant rate. So this is something where I'm going to need to keep a close eye on it and what we're being charged as a town to get rid of the stuff and adjust this on a more regular basis than it's been adjusted in the past. So along with this, I've put in here what some of the charges are, as well as the policy updates. So all dual axle trailers are required to use scale and pay the current rate per ton. All one-ton dump trucks or larger are required to use the scale and pay the current rate ton. This applies to both residents and contractors. And I just wanted to make a point of clarification that in here I put one-ton dump trucks, not one-ton trucks. So many residents in town have one-ton pickup trucks. We're not looking to get them on this. This is for dump trucks. Residents who require an out-of-town family member or a visiting non-resident to help with disposals will be granted access once providing proof of residency. So if someone's family member passes away, they just need to show us proof that that family member lived in town as a resident, and we'll give them access to the landfill. This is to include if when a resident has passed away, an out-of-town family member or non-resident is helping with disposal of materials. Permit fee and all other applicable fees will apply. Residents borrowing a vehicle that is not registered to them, that is unable to have a permit purchased for that vehicle, out-of-state vehicle, out-of-town registered vehicle, will be required to use the scale and pay the current scale rate per ton. So let's just say, Mel, you had a instance where you needed to dispose of something, you didn't have a pickup truck, you borrowed a friend of yours truck, they're from Massachusetts, you wanna come in here, we know you're a resident. It's only fair to let you use that, to be able to dispose of it, but we're gonna have to charge you over the scale.
Secondly, so this is Kathy Harrington, so my only suggestion would be to add a very similar language to number 3 that you have in number 2, which would be to say that they would be granted access upon proof of residency, right? Because we still want to make sure that the person who's borrowing the car is a town resident, right?
Correct.
And then I would make that same suggestion for the next one you're gonna read, number 4, which is like if someone rents a truck, like for rented vehicles, because I thought the language was good. The only other thing I would change is on number 2, instead of saying once providing proof of residency, just say upon proof of residency, right? Just tightens it up a little bit. The second sentence of number 2, so they will be granted access upon proof of residency. Yeah. And I just think it makes it clearer for number 3 and 4, like they're still gonna have to show you
Correct.
proof. Yeah.
Perfect. So now we're at the point where, so number 4, residents using rented vehicles, U-Haul, Penske, Home Depot, etc., will be required to use the scale and pay the current rate per ton. Number 5 is scale charge per ton would be going to 140, and there would also be a $10 minimum scale charge. The current charge is $80 per ton and no minimum. So currently, right now, we're losing $28 for every ton of material that goes into that landfill. Plus the handling material on top of that, so quite a bit.
Do our costs vary depending on what they bring up?
We have a flat rate contract with who we dispose it with,
Okay.
so it's a flat rate per tonnage, doesn't matter what's in that. Everything has to be separated out, so we do have different piles, but it's all by the ton.
So that the cost we're gonna charge, is there a markup on our end? So in other words, if it costs us $5 with who the contractor is, we're charging 10, so we get $5.
Correct. Yep, it's a small nominal amount, but that's for us handling the material. We have to pay for diesel fuel to truck it out of there, the cans to keep everything in. So then I've also updated all the other parts of our fee schedule. So couch and love seats are currently $25. We're gonna go up to $30 on that.
So it looks like you went up $5 for the most part on that.
For the most part, correct, yeah. There are a couple items that are a little bit different depending, and then the new thing would be the box springs, which we've never been charged for from our disposal place, and they are now implementing that, which has already taken effect. They gave us no notice, we just showed up one day and they said, now we're charging. Along with this, I'm also working with the town attorney on updating ordinance for the landfill. We need to have some of the verbiage in there to match the policies that we're implementing here, and that hasn't been touched, I don't know how long, but quite a long time, so, not prepared to have anything for you all yet with that, once I'm done working with Attorney Donnelly. So, to come back in and go over that with you and get any of your opinions and feedback on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that was one of my only concern. I think the prices should go up, I think that's good. But I think, we have a resident brings it up all the time, that residents are, per the charter, they're allowed to use the bulky waste.
Well, there's some discrepancy if you talk to Attorney Donnelly, the way
Right.
that some people see it versus how he sees it as an attorney. There's not, so that's why updating the ordinance and making it very clear,
Correct.
it makes complete sense at this point.
Right, and so in your public hearing for this, I can guarantee you that's gonna come up.
Mhm.
So, just so you guys can prepare for that.
Yep.
That's all.
But I think that just kind of, we can get to this point where, once that's done, very clear to everybody, no matter what side you want to take on it, that this is how the policy is.
No, totally understood, but if the charter says they can use the bulky waste, and we wanna implement this,
Correct.
they have to be allowed to use the bulky waste.
Correct.
So it's gonna be really confusing for a while, because that is another town meeting to change the charter. So
Correct.
that's minimum 6 months probably, next time we have a town meeting, we
Yeah.
don't really have one on the books, so it's gonna,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a cloudy area for a while.
and as it has been since I've been here.
Yeah.
And that's why, like I said, I worked closely with Attorney Donnelly about this, and, his point of view versus what some residents may feel are kind of not matching up either, so kind of in a
Yeah.
tough spot. So it's gotta be tackled at some point, why not tackle it now and get
Yeah.
it taken care of?
Okay.
We can just be clear for residents that this landfill policy and fee schedule update would not address the bulky waste issue, the conflict between the reading of bulky
Correct,
waste.
this is strictly
That will
about,
be another date.
correct, about
Okay.
other issues,
Yeah.
that's gotta be part of the ordinance.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's good, I think it's great.
Yeah, thanks for your work on this.
And I think the prefatory language is helpful as well.
Yeah,
It lets people understand why we're doing this.
absolutely.
What's the proportion of contractors versus residents using it, would you say?
Well, so we do have the amount of contractors we have going in there is very small compared to the residents. The contractors tend to use the bulk waste out back, which is for like wood, siding, stuff like that, not as much for traditional bulky waste that people are throwing in the cans. And I have already gotten some feedback from some residents who somehow through the grapevine have heard some stuff about this policy change, and I've heard some good, I've heard some people not happy about the scale fee going up, but I don't think it's fair to residents throughout town to be paying for people that are using the landfill. That's not how this was supposed to be set up to be, so I think the ordinance will help clear a lot of that up, as do these policies.
Well, maybe it's worth the $50 to have a sign made and saying, in 2020, we paid this per ton. In 2025, we're paying this per ton. Our prices haven't gone up in 20 years.
What I
know.
might suggest is, why don't you write an article for the Observer?
Yeah,
And
or
that gets,
even better.
that gets to every household.
Yeah, Selectman Wall has already asked me to do that.
I mean, it's not fair to the residents that don't use the landfill, because any losses we take get incurred into his budget.
Right.
So anyone who does should pay
Correct.
what we.
We want to make
pay
it
for.
fair for all
Yeah.
residents.
Yeah. And the fees, again, I think you brought it in earlier, are still dramatically lower than most people around here.
You're
So
100% correct.
it's, I don't, there shouldn't be too much pushback. I'm sure there will be, but there shouldn't.
There's always,
Yeah.
yeah.
So knowing the editor of the Observer, can I tell her something's gonna come?
Absolutely.
Okay. Your deadline's the 12th.
So, this is Kathy Harrington, I'll make a let's see, oh, it just says discussion. We call it
That's it.
public hearing, we don't need a motion.
No, I guess we just need to call a public hearing for March
Okay.
19th meeting.
For March 19th?
Yeah,
So I guess, we're gonna make a motion, call a
Do
public
we have-
hearing on March 19th?
yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Do we,
Can you
Okay.
make a motion if it's not on?
no, it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
If you want me, do you want me to do it out of abundance of caution? It says call public hearing. If you would like, I can make it to say.
I appreciate that it seems like you covered all the contingencies that came up.
I tried to,
I'm sure there's something we haven't thought about, but,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
in our
okay.
landfill lead, Joe Duvall, I spent some time with him discussing issues that he's facing up there too, and trying to get the whole picture, so.
I made the motion to
All
call
right,
it.
so the motion has been made to call a public hearing for March 19th. Is there any discussion?
It's March
All right.
19th.
Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, Lee, for your work. Thanks for
Thanks,
your time.
Lee.
Thank you all for having me tonight,
See
appreciate
you
it.
later this month.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You'll be
You
back.
too, thanks.
All right, so then item number 6A is discussion of the Social Services Commission. So I'm bringing this up because, over the course of my time and even before, we had some just issues with attendance, participation. The former chair had brought up some of her concerns and issues. The current chair is here tonight, Robin Zantoni is here. You can join us, Robin, if you'd like. She sent me a letter, which I forwarded to you guys to share, highlighting some of her concerns, her vision, what she would like to see moving forward. So I'm gonna hand it over to you, and you can discuss
Okay.
that, and we'll ask questions from there.
Okay,
Thanks for joining us, Robin.
I'm sorry?
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I was a little late.
That's okay.
So I've stood up and talked to you before a couple times, and I'm just gonna have to keep doing it because the way in which the Social Services Commission is structured does not seem to put the right people in place. So as a result of that, either people don't come to the meetings, and even when the people do come to the meetings, they won't put their hands up to do anything. So, for example, our first meeting in January, we didn't have a recording secretary. I had called the meeting, had organized the meeting, put the agenda together and so forth, so I asked if any one of the members would be the recording secretary just for that meeting. Nope, it was a staff member who put her hand up. And through Kelly Gianzuni, we've been talking about striving to make Suffield smaller, make it more like a village where we support each other and we have relationships. And maybe from COVID that became more strained, but there are some very exciting things that we can do, that we are doing, but I can't do them with the Social Services Commission because the people on the commission, even if I get them to show up, they don't want to do work.
So it's gotta be difficult when you're trying to help assist creative programming, having different people at all times during
Yeah,
these
so
monthly meetings.
I'll give you an example. So the specific example is that Kelly gave her notice that she's leaving. One of the programs that she was getting it ready to put in place was called Suffield Sidekicks. It's where we can get some grant money to pay high school students 2 at a time to go visit with a senior and do tasks for them, help them out. So it doesn't cost the town any money, but it helps the Suffield residents. It also means that we begin to have contact more frequently with some of the people who might be shut in, who need visits but won't ask for visits, who, in some cases in my real estate business, I've seen they become hoarders. And so they'll let high school students in to help them clean their house or something. But this particular program crosses all the different areas. So it involves youth services, helps high school students connect with seniors and have a purpose that is important. It connects people who are seniors, so that connects our senior center. Suffield Community Aid is especially interested in it because they have a number of people who don't have family in town and they could really use the help. And then there's Suffield Housing Authority that's also represented, and those folks need a little help from time to time. I can't get any traction at all with the Social Services Commission, and I have met, just so you know, I've met with each person individually, trying to find what their passion is, trying to find how I could get them motivated. I've been completely unsuccessful. So instead, I started asking people who are recently retired, who were in leadership positions in the corporate world, for example. They not only come to the meeting to take leadership position, or they take leadership roles, and have contacted other towns that have done this, found out how to apply for the grant, what are the challenges with that, what they've broken it down into the different parts, and different ones are putting their hands up. I'll do the training, I'll do the matching of seniors and so on. I can't get any of that with the commission. I am an unaffiliated person. I think that the politics involved in putting people on the Social Services Commission and then having them stay on for 4 years is just set up for failure. If I have more freedom to bring people on, and since then, I was meeting, Tim Reynolds is a new member, so I met with him for coffee and tried to find out what his passions are. A person comes over and says, "What are you doing?" And so we told her, and she said, "I've always wanted to get involved. I'd like to make some contributions, but I can't figure out how to do it. And I've offered my help." So I said, "Write down your name and number, give me your email, and when you get back from your trip to Mexico, we're going to get you signed up." So I am also coincidentally a little younger than the people who are retiring, but they are my friends. They're my contemporaries. So I ran into somebody in the grocery store last week. So there's energy to do stuff. And the Mary Curtin is the one who had talked about making us more of a village, using what's called a village model. There's a desire to do that, so that if seniors need rides, to have some volunteers who can help. So there are lots of different possibilities and programs. I only told you about one of them, but you can see where I can't get it off the ground with the people that I've got.
Would it be safe to say if this was restructured, it would provide more flexibility for you and what you're trying to get done? Like, let's just say maybe a task force like I have with my sustainability task force where they fall under
I
my
think that
office.
would give me the flexibility so that when people have passion for something, they can work on it.
Okay.
And when they need to go to Mexico, they can go to Mexico.
It's not as structured.
I need it less
Okay.
structured, is right. And the The structure is making me crazy.
Are you thinking about, like, the example of the I don't know what it's called,
Yeah,
the environmental committee,
Sustainability Task Force.
recycling and all
They-
that?
And they do very well, and, well, you know, they don't have to fall under an agenda of minutes, and you can see all the programs they've done around town. It's a great group of people, and, you know, I've stayed out of it in the sense of
Well, that's
our
good.
chair, and, yeah, thanks, Anna Kristen, selecting members, new members, people that really wanna participate in that, so I think that's a good model for Robin, right?
That's
what you're trying to
much
get done.
more appealing to me than what we had. And honestly, the things that come up, they're not political, they're need-based to serve the community of Suffield. So I don't feel like I need a political perspective. I need people who are passionate.
So,
Do you have another example you could share with us besides the one?
That's the one I'm focused on right now because Kelly's leaving and I've got a whole bunch of things to get in place. However, I asked the seniors, so Bethany, who runs the senior center, went to the seniors and asked them what types of programming would they like. They came up with 20 items of things that they would like to know more about. And a bunch of them were things that I would not have thought of. So they want estate planning, yeah, I would expect that. They also want somebody from CVS Pharmacy to come talk to them about medications and contraindications and what you can. They also want to know about jobs. Some of them would like part-time jobs. So there's a list,
That's great.
and I've got one person who is not, I've offered that for 4 months to the commission. Nobody on the commission is interested at all. But I do have one person on the side who is interested, and all you have to do is contact people, and it's not hard.
so
So that would be another example.
if the majority of the board would be in favor of a model like that, and speak with the town attorney and ask what that would take to disband the Social Services Commission and create like a community services task
So
force.
when I went online, it looked like it was in a charter.
Yeah, it looks like it's an ordinance here, chapter 111.
What's it, in terms of proceeding, what's the difference if it's a charter or whether it's an ordinance?
Well, that's where we're gonna have to get guidance.
That's what you need.
Okay, so I think, you know, we can give this some consideration in next meeting. I'll bring it forward and see what it takes, and if we wanna proceed, we'll go from there.
I mean, I'm in favor of it. I would like to hear from Derek what we need to do, what changes we need to make, if any, to the ordinance in order to make it a task force and make it more viable.
I am hopeful that you might be able to give me permission or whatever to start the task force, and then I'll just cut back on the number of social services commission meetings.
I mean, there's nothing actually stopping me from creating a task force. It's just a concern of the Social Services Commission.
Well, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting volunteers that are not on the commission to help the commission. I think you can do that tomorrow.
Honestly, Pete, I don't want them to help the commission.
Well,
I just want them to do the right things.
that's what I mean.
Okay,
It just have these people help you out, that's all.
Yep.
They don't need a label or anything, they can just say, you can say, oh, Bob Smith, you wanna help drive seniors to the grocery store? Sure, you can, or I don't know if we're allowed to, but you know what I mean.
It does help me if I have some clout from saying that I, as a representative of the town,
Yeah.
like that means something to people.
So our next meeting's on the 19th, right?
Correct, yep.
Right. So I'm not, off the top of my head, certain what procedural steps we need to take in order to authorize a task force. Okay, so I don't personally feel comfortable saying, I think you can start a task force in the interim. But I would like us to have it on our next agenda and have Derek be able to report to us, even if he's not certain what changes we necessarily need to make to the ordinance, but how can we maybe authorize a task force at the next meeting to kind of have it, not running in tandem if you don't want them working together, but both, and, you know, still technically up and running at the same time.
Yeah.
Get you started on a task force while we figure out what to do with the commission. Like, I would be willing to do that. I just don't know right now if we have the right steps or the right notice on the agenda
Right.
in order to start a task
I
force at
can
this
work
time.
with that, and I can get different groups of volunteers, because Kelly's leaving on the 18th,
Yep.
and there are a whole bunch of programs that she had going, so I'll just get more people
Yeah.
involved.
My opinion is, if you have people on the commission that aren't pulling their weight or aren't doing anything, I think it's perfectly in your purview to ask for their resignation. And if
Well-
they don't want to give it, you could come to us and we could ask for their resignation.
So I did write up an expectations document, how many meetings I expect them to attend, how many, and so on, and I asked them for feedback. One of them gave me feedback on one item, and it didn't seem to change the behavior. My concern, honestly,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if you're not gonna do anything, then resign and let's make space.
Well, I know at our last meeting, there's 3 more people that want to be on that commission, that are ready to come in and do the work. But we've got people on the commission now that don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
So I don't see a need to get rid of the commission. I just think you need good people on the commission, and I don't think you have that right now.
A couple of things. One of them is the people who have indicated that they want to be on the commission have not talked to me about what the commission does or what their responsibilities would be. That's not a good sign from my perspective. I've made myself readily available. They haven't looked at the notes, they haven't joined the meeting via Zoom, nothing. And so I'm leery of that, because we've had a number of new people come on board, and they seem like they're enthused, but then they don't put their hands up. And I don't know, I don't want to embarrass people, so that's also my hesitancy about asking people to resign.
If I may, I feel like since we're looking at going a task force route, I don't think that, me personally, I don't think that's something that you need to take on, having that kind of confrontation with people to ask them to resign at this point. I think we're looking at a different structure, hopefully that's where we'll end up going, on the 19th we'll come back and we'll go from there. But I think you can kind of put a pin in that with the commission for the
Colin,
time being.
we used to have a landfill commission. I don't remember when we got rid of it.
That was a
But it
task
came-
force, right? Was that a task force under the ordinance?
I guess so.
No, it was a-
commission.
Was it a commission?
It was a commission.
It was a commission,
The
and
last
somewhere or another,
review
we,
took it out.
Kind of got disbanded and never put
Yeah.
back together.
it was not needed, so it's all I'm raising is, I don't know if Derek was about, he might remember the procedure, how we got rid of that.
I just want to make sure that if and when we do anything
Yeah,
like
no, I
that, that we do
understand.
it
That's why I'm
properly.
suggesting.
Probably.
So,
Sure,
like I said, why don't I talk to Derek
Yeah.
and we'll go from there on the next meeting.
that'd be great. Thank you for
Okay.
coming in tonight, Robin.
Yeah,
Good
thanks for
talking
having
to
Thanks,
us.
Robin. Have a
Thanks
great
for
night.
the work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I do work full-time. I mean, I don't want you
I
to
know.
think that I'm retired, so I expect everything from everybody else.
No,
I know,
we know.
I hear from somebody in your family says you're retired.
All right.
I'm sure.
All right, item number 7 is public comment. Is there any public comment in the room? Is there any public comment on Zoom? Kristen, let's pull up and see.
She's like the most of them.
The deadline. There we go.
Is there any public comment on Zoom? All right, seeing none, I will move to selectmen updates. Just a few. We did turn in our steep application for the $1 million to assist with the radio project last week, so a month or
I'm
two.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
We did turn in our steep application applying for $1 million to assist with the radio project last week, so hopefully we'll find out in the next month or two, and if that was approved. We do have a tentative agreement for the WPCA collective bargaining agreement, so thanks to all the members and everybody that was involved in that. Jim Taylor, our longtime ZEO, our zoning enforcement officer, is retiring in June, so we will be looking for his replacement over the next 4 months,
How long has he been here?
longer than I have. So,
34
I don't
years.
have it.
34? That's what I heard. That's what Bill told me.
That's a long time, so. Our youth services director, Charlie Giannuzzi, is stepping down and pursuing agriculture career, so good luck to her. We'll be looking for a new youth services director, and I just want to say she's done a really good job. The past almost 2 years that she's been here, probably one of the best directors we've had.
Big
that
loss for the
position.
town,
Yeah.
big loss. But good luck to her, and everything she's doing.
So, I don't have anything else. Does anyone have anything they want to share before we end the meeting? All right, well then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Does Pete Ellen make a motion to adjourn?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Do you think so?